Okay, it's TLB time, and it's with me, Kim, today. It's a special episode while waiting for Aether Revolt to come to Magic Online. So, therefore, I'm just going to go through some takeaways from the past weekend's pre-release. I played. Jimmy is away traveling with his family. They're at the beach in the sun right now, but I'm home in cold Sweden and I've been playing Magic this Saturday. That we went to the big pre-release of Aether Revolt, and actually went pretty well for me and a lot of my friends. So I'm going to try to summarize some of the takeaways that I got during the weekend. Some cards that I saw, maybe some combos or decks that worked, whatever. And I'm going to start with my own deck and then branch out to just broken cards that really looked like something I want to first pick in a draft. And then just at the end I'm going to talk about some cards that both some cards that might work as a good build around that I saw, and just some general good cards, I guess. And for myself, I played a black-green deck, which actually was my favorite archetype in Kaladesh, because it was a really good mid-range deck that had good removal, it had good creatures on curve, and it could... I mean, people were trying to go aggro. Black-green always had good stuff to play on curve, together with cheap removal like Die Young and whatever. And I just felt like the aggro decks were too small against you, and you could put enough pressure on to beat the control decks. And in a mid-range mirror, green is very good to have. So black-green with a counter theme, and sometimes a bit you can have a sub-theme of energy. That together with blue-green were my favorite decks. And now I got a really good, I think, pool for black-green with good creatures again on curve that we're going to see a few. And I also had like 6 good removal spells, Renegade Freighter and Nissa. So the deck was decent. I ended up, I think, 3rd in the tournament. There were like 100 players, I guess. And I just lost one match against the deck that won the whole tournament, but it was close. So first, I'm going to talk about the promo card that I got in the pre-release pack, which was Battle at the Bridge. And this deck, even without Improvise, I didn't even use Improvise more than maybe once. I mean, black X, target creature gains -X, and you gain X life. This was a great top deck if I was behind. It was a hard removal spell most of the time, and the life gain could put me ahead in a race. And I also faced this card, and it was really good for my opponents too. So this is a clear... I mean, it's also splashable in, let's say, you're green-blue, and the green has some fixing. You can just splash Battle at the Bridge, for example. It's very strong. So yeah, not much more to say about it, but pick this card highly, I think. And obviously, if you can improvise, it just gets better. But you don't even have to have one artifact in the deck for this card to be broken, or at least really good. Second card that was, I guess, my MVP in a lot of games was Renegade Map. 1 mana for an artifact that enters tapped, and then you can sack it whenever you want to search for a basic land and put it in your hand. And my deck didn't really care a lot about Revolt. I think I maybe had 1 card that cared about it, but this was just pure fixing for me. Because sometimes, I mean, I did mulligan quite, I think, to 6 a lot of times. Sometimes on the play, sometimes on the draw. And then I could see a 6 which had like 1 land and a map and a good curve. And then I could just keep and scry and just use the map to either find double black or double green, because I had some cards that wanted that, or just find the basic land type that I didn't have. And map just smoothed out these draws and made some of my 7s where I wanted to play double black on turn 2 and maybe double green on turn 4 work thanks to having the map in the deck. And I'm going to show 2 cards that got even better since I had this in the deck. And first it's the gifted Aetherborn that I actually had one. And this was perfect. Let's say I kept 7. I had 1 green, 1 black, and a map. Then I could go swamp, map, pass the turn. Opponent does something. Then on my turn I sack the map, get second swamp, play Aetherborn, and I can still have green for turn 3. And this just made, because double black in a casting cost, then you really want a minimum of 10 sources to be able to really play this early. And thanks to the map, I had 10 black and 9 green in the deck. And that made the Aetherborn much more castable. And obviously when I got this out and even had some synergies that could put counters or move counters that we're going to see later, the Aetherborn was just really, really good. Death Touch and Lifelink has been really strong. If you look back at, for example, the Nighthawk, Vampire Nighthawk, and I mean this comes out even earlier if you have the mana. And another card that I really liked in the black-green counters deck was Maulfist Revolutionary. And here's double green, so similar here as to the Aetherborn. A map really made it so I could find maybe double green for turn 3. And this is a 3 mana 3/3 trample, and it has synergies with both energy and random counters on permanents, because you can both put an additional counter when this enters and when it dies. And we are going to look at two drops that I had in the deck that worked really good to play before you played the Revolutionary. And I think I had 1 or 2 of the Scrounging Bandar, and this is just a 2 mana 2/2 common, but it enters with 2 +1/+1 counters. So if I played this on turn 2 and then the Revolutionary on turn 3, I could instantly make this into a 3/3. And this has had a really sweet synergy with the deck that cared about having counters on stuff, because at my upkeep I could just move a counter from the Bandar to something else. For example, to Gifted Aetherborn or other strong creatures that just became a lot better. So having this as a 2/2 and on turn 3 a 3/3, and then playing maybe something else that's pretty big on turn 4, and then starting moving stuff around. And even just moving this to the Revolutionary on turn 4 on the upkeep, then you have a 4/4 trample for 3. So this was pretty neat. And I also had a Walking Ballista in the deck, which is a XX00, but it also enters with X counters. So sometimes I could play this on turn 2, play the Revolutionary, make this into a 2/2, and sometimes you just drew this late in the game and made it big, and you could kill off blockers. I killed 3/1s, 2/1s, and stuff like that with this guy. And at one point I think I had my opponent on 3 life and it was a board stall. I just drew this, put 3 counters on it, and went for his head and won the game. So the Ballista was really versatile card that you can play both early and late, and those type of 2 drops, if you count it as that, is very good to have in the deck. And it's colorless obviously, which is great. And just another good card that I had in the deck was Druid of the Cowl. I mean, it's a 2 mana 1/3 mana elf, so it both blocks pretty well. It can block the 2/1 first strikes and cards like that, and it also it provided second green for the double green cards I had, and I could also ramp up to my powerful 4 and 5 drops. So the Druid I felt like that also did a very good job. And lastly, I mean, I'm not going to go through my whole deck, but a card like Cruel Finality was also pretty impressive. It's 3 mana for giving -2/2 and a scry 1. It doesn't look super, but I used it as a combat trick a lot of times. So I attacked with a 3/3, they blocked with something, maybe a 3/3 2, and I could just shrink their guy, scry, and let my guy survive. I could make better blocks, and sometimes I could just kill some of the annoying good cards that has 2 toughness or less. So I think that it was, I don't want to have like 3 of them in the deck maybe, but 1 or 2 seems fine. So if we move on now from my deck and what I think, I mean, I went 5-1. I could have gone 6-0. It was really close. And it just had good removal, good creatures, bomb in Nissa, and some small fixing and enablers like that. And the counter theme was not that heavy, but it made the deck have some more punch than just being a curve. It also had the counter synergy. So now we're going to move on to, I guess, cards that I either faced or saw my friends or other people play that looked like straight up bombs that I'm really looking forward to pick early in a draft soon. Okay, so let's look at some, I guess, bombs that I just played against or saw my friends play, or maybe just looked at a random game and saw someone do something busted with it. And first, the card that impressed me the most, I mean, because I think I was 4-0 or something, so because of that I was sitting at the top tables during the whole tournament, and one card that showed up in both in my opponent's deck at a point but also around me was Lifecrafter's Bestiary. This is a card that I haven't even seen, because I haven't looked at all rares before the pre-release, I think, because we did common and uncommon set reviews. And this is a card that I had just straight up miss, and it was broken in sealed. I mean, against me, one of my opponents drew 11 cards. He was also black-green, and I mean, he played stuff. I mean, his deck was probably more than 15 creatures, and he had removal. And just having this out, okay, he took 1 turn off. After that, he played a creature, drew a card. Scryed upkeep, played a creature, drew a card. Scryed upkeep, and he just did that. And sometimes he even played 2 creatures and drew 2 cards. Because, I mean, there are long and stalled games often in sealed. And I still think in the right deck, in a green deck that has creatures, this will be good in draft as well. So this was probably the card that impressed me the most during the whole pre-release, and I'm looking forward to trying it out. Another card that I faced and I also saw, I mean, everyone knows that this is a good card, but it was very annoying to get a 4-for-1 against me while he's also casting something. So I guess it was actually a 5-for-1. My opponent cast, it was the same opponent that had the Lifecrafters Bestiary, and it's Jehanni's Expertise. It's the 4 mana, all creatures get -3/-3, and you can cast something for 3 from your hand. I think it was like a 3/3, a 2/2, a 2/1, and a random servo or something. Or if it was a 1/1 Death Touch, I don't remember. My opponent was down on like 4 life. He was dead on board, 0 cards in hand. No, he had 2 cards in hand, I think, but I don't think they were relevant because he just said, "Ooh, now I got lucky." And then he cast Janus Expertise, killed my whole board, and put out like a random, I don't know what it was, a small guy. And luckily I had a removal spell in hand, and I drew a creature, and I got to win anyway. But this card just showed its potential there, and I saw it do similar things to other players around the tables as well. So obviously a good card. And another, I mean, this is a bit more expensive. It's Rishkar's Expertise. I saw someone draw 7 cards and cast. He drew 7 cards. I don't know if it was 7/5 artifact or something he had in play. He drew 7 cards, and he cast Baral's Expertise for free, which bounced 3 of the opponent's permanents. And then I don't know if he cast something else. I just saw this sequence. But even if you don't have, I mean, the 7/5 in the deck, you might just have a Lifecraft Cavalry, for example, which is a super good, another good green common, which is a beater. It's a 4/4 trample, but with Revolt is a 6/6, and it has the counter theme. This would have been great in my deck, but I didn't get one in the pool. But I saw this played a lot in the green decks, and if you first pick a card like Rishkar's Expertise and you're playing green, you might get 1 or 2 of the cavalries, and maybe you can draw 6 cards instead, and it's just a super good combo. Yeah, obviously if you have 0 creatures out, this does nothing, but the upside is there. And if you were looking, I mean, green again looks super, super strong, like it was in Kaladesh. And now we're going to look at 2 5-mana win the games, basically. First, it's Ridge Scale Tusker, which was very impressive. I saw it cast a lot. I got it cast once against me, and then it just actually won the game straight up. It's a 5/5 for 5, which is already good, and it can put a +1/+1 counter on each other creature. So in black-green, it's broken, and in any other green whatever, it's still broken. It's like, I don't know, very, 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 very good. And also I didn't get, luckily no one cast Monstrous Onslaught against me, but I saw it a few times, and I saw it deal again. Just combine it with, for example, Lifecraft Cavalry, which is a common. I saw this deal 5, I saw this deal 6, and this is also the greatest power among creatures when you cast it. So even if they remove something, you already have the effect. So this is just a blowout, broken, uncommon. And no surprise, another one that was just a game winner a lot. My friend had it, and I think it was the best card in his deck. It was Untethered Express, the new broken vehicle. It's a 4/4 trample to begin with, but the first time it attacks, it's already a 5/5, and then it just escalates from there. And this has Crew 1, like Smuggler's Copter. So Crew 1, you should be able to use it. That's what it says when it's Crew 1. And yeah, that was actually it for like the must-have first pickable cards that I saw in action. Obviously, there are other in the format, but these were just either I faced them, or I saw them, or my friends had them, and I just want to play with them. So now, for the next couple of cards, we're going to look at some cool build-arounds, which I actually saw some people use to its fullest. So let's see what we have there. First we have Sram, Senior Edificer, which is a 2-mana 2/2 in white. It's a legendary creature, and it says it has a pretty powerful effect if you can get it going, because whenever you cast an aura, equipment, or vehicle, you draw a card. So I played against one opponent which had basically gone all in. I think he had 2 SRAM. I think that's why he really did it. He played, I don't know, maybe 3 vehicles or something. But then he had 2 of the, I don't know how many auras he had, but I know he had 2 of the white aura. Conviction, which is a 2-mana aura that gives +1/+3, but you can also bounce it whenever you want for 1 white. And the combo there was that he bounced this and replayed it and drew another card. He also had at least one, I think he had 1 of the Unbrindled Growth, which also is an aura but for a land, which says that the land can tap for any color, but then you can sack the aura to draw a card. So basically he could first draw a card by playing it, and then he could draw a card again by sacking it. And in the same deck, another cool card that I'm going to talk about, which also seemed like a sweet build around, is the Restoration Specialist. Because this guy, it's a 2-mana 2/1, which is fine. And for 1 white, you can sack it to return up to one target artifact and up to one target enchantment from your graveyard to your hand. So combined with Unbrindled Growth, for example, you can just sack it, draw a card, and then later sack the specialist to get back the growth, and then later sack it again to draw a card. And in the same deck, obviously you can play, I think he had maybe a map and maybe one of the implements, because against me he got the 2-for-1 once when he sacked the specialist, and he got an artifact back and the land, and then with the land aura, and then he played it and drew another card. So yeah, that was just cool synergy, and I think you can, I don't know how good it will be in draft, but it seemed to work for him. I think he went 4-2 in the tournament, so it wasn't that bad. And another card, I don't know if it's just a build around, but it was a good card, and it's even better if you build a bit around Revolt. Solemn Recruit starts out as a 3-mana 2/2 double strike, which is just great to begin with. But if you can, this has like multi-revolt, since you can trigger it each turn if you want. Some of the cards just has it when it enters, but this is at the beginning of your end step. So again, if you have these things going where you can sack maps or implements or trigger revolt on other ways. I mean, one of my friends played black-white, and he had some revolt cards like this, and he could randomly trigger revolt even though it wasn't really built around it. This, if your opponent doesn't have a good removal spell, this card will just run home with the game by itself. Turns into a 3/3 double strike, a 4/4 double strike, and so on. So it looked really impressive. It should be good in white no matter what, but in the right deck it was certainly a bomb. Yeah, I guess that was it for like, and I don't know, again, doesn't have to be a build around, but I saw someone played a blue-red deck, since I think he had 1 or 2 Maverick Thopterist, and it just looked super solid to be able to play a 2/2 with 2/1/1 flyings for, let's say, 4 mana, maybe was the average he cast it for. It's basically a Whirler rogue, but you could also cast it earlier. And yeah, just a super good card that might make blue-red a thing again, because it really wasn't in Kaladesh. And another card that I saw that was really good, I didn't have it myself, but in black-green counters, was Lifecrafter's Gift. Because it's instant, okay, it's 4 mana, but I saw someone just play this during combat. He put 2 counters on a flyer and then 1 counter on 2 other creatures. It's just 4 counters. It's not like the ceiling example. It's a medium example, I guess, but it was just too much, and he won the game basically by casting this during combat. So I think this also looks like a good, in the right deck, build around, call it what you want. And lastly, we're just going to look at a few cards that I saw that just looked like good cards in general. And then I'm done with the takeaways from this pre-release. So first I'm going to talk about Glintsleeve Siphoner, which is a 2-mana 2/1 menace, and when it enters the battlefield you get 1 energy. My friend, who also, I think he went 4-2 with his black-red aggro deck, he played one of these, and he said that in an average sealed game, I think it drew him 4 or 5 cards. Obviously, it dies to removal and whatever, but the menace part and the thing that it combines well with other random energy makers. I mean, you can just turn 1 play either Hub or maybe Attune or something if you're green. Turn 2 play this. Turn 3, if it lives, you draw a card already. And it should be able to attack with menace, hopefully the first time. Then you get an energy, and maybe that turn you played a Thriving Rhino or just a 1/1 Death Touch that gives you 2 energy that's already in black or something like that. Then again in the upkeep you have drawn 2 cards and you have gotten both 4 damage and 2 cards out of it, and maybe then it's dead. It dies in combat or to a removal. But yeah, it was really good for him, and I think it looks like a really good 2-drop. Another card that I saw that looks like it's pretty good in this format is Release the Gremlins. It's 1 red and XX. Destroy X target artifacts and create X 2/2 red gremlins. And in this format, in particular in sealed, because the games were pretty, longer in general than in draft, I guess. But there are artifacts running around. Even if you kill servos, you still get your 2/2s. But I mean, I had my Renegade Freighter out, and I think I had a 1/1 servo, which isn't like, it's not like 2 Gearhulks. And then my opponent on turn 5 killed them both and got 2 2/2s and stabilized. But I saw a lot more. I mean, you could cast this later for 7, maybe, I don't know, kill 2 vehicles or kill a vehicle and a random 3/3 or 4/4, whatever. There are artifact creatures and vehicles and servos and modules. I mean, there should be a lot of targets, and you can bore this out if you don't see any targets game 1. It just looks like it has a home in this particular format. And going to a white common, this was both very good for two of my friends played a white based aggro deck, and Dawn Feather Eagle, both of them said that card was really good, and it was also very annoying to play against. If again it was a stall the board, they play a flyer, which is good in limited in general, and they pump their whole team and might get an attack in that they could not otherwise. And since it's enter the battlefield, you can trigger this multiple times if you have flicker effects and stuff like that. So the Eagle is looking like a very solid white common. Moving to green again. I mean, there are a lot of green here, but Aether Stream Leopard. One of my friends played red-green beatdown. He had 2 of these, and it was basically his best creature. It was most often like a 3-mana 4/3 trample attacking until it either got a removal or maybe traded for 2 blockers or something. And just getting in 8 damage before they can really do something about it. I saw a lot of red-green mirrors close to the top tables that were just attacking into each other, and all of them, it seemed like the leopards were making the difference in those mirrors. And lastly, a card that I really wanted in my deck but I didn't have, but I saw it be good, and I think it will be good in draft. It's Winding Constrictor. It's just a 2-mana 2/3, which is already good, and it works very good with energy and all other counters in black-green, because if one or more counters would be placed on an artifact or creature you control, that many of those counters +1. So and also if I as a player would get counters, you +1, so you get 1 more energy. The only downside is I guess if you're playing against Infect, then you get double Infect, but I mean, yeah, for Aether Revolt limited, it should be very good. So to sum it up, green looks very good again. Black-green felt like it will still be top 3 deck for me in the format. I also saw blue-green do a lot of value stuff. For aggro, at least at our pre-release, it seemed like red-green was pretty strong, and also white-black, because you could curve with that too. I didn't see much of the white red or black red at the top tables, but that, I mean, it was sealed. Generally aggro isn't as good in sealed, so it might be different later when we draft. So this was some takeaways from this the pre-release, and soon Jimmy will be back from his travels and will try to start drafting the format, something I really look forward to. And if you played the pre-release yourself, or maybe some other events, and had some sweet stories to share, please comment. I will read and respond. Also, just in general, if you like draft videos and like our content, leave a like, press subscribe, and we'll keep on doing what we like, which is limited magic. See you later, bye.